Hey everybody, welcome back to The Whole Truth. I'm Gil Arbel, your attorney at law. So today I want to ask a very simple question. And this is not directly about the Charlie Kirk assassination case, but it does have to do with it. But it's more about intellectual honesty. If someone says their goal is to find the truth, what do they do when they realize they've shared false information or unverified information? Do they correct it, or do they leave it up if it's convenient, if they share it on their ex, for example? And the reason I ask this is because recently, as I'll show you, Candace Owens shared an email, actually I think two separate emails, from someone claiming to be doctors, or from two people claiming to be doctors who criticized the medical examiner's findings in the Charlie Kirk case. And that post spread like wildfire. Now, if that person is a real qualified expert, then great. Let's see the evidence, the arguments. Hold on one second. My printer just started going and it's distracting me. Let's see the evidence and weigh it. But if you learn that the evidence or the source is not who they claim to be, or there's no credible basis to treat the source as legitimate, then wouldn't the honest thing to do be to apologize and correct the record? I mean, if you were really a truth seeker. Specifically, Candace learned, and I'll show the expos, that these were trolls. That was actually by Andrew Wilson, claiming to be a doctor. But because it's inconvenient to her narrative, she decided to keep the posts up. And that just, I think, says a lot about whether or not she's actually seeking the truth in this case. In any serious setting, including a courtroom, an anonymous email without verification wouldn't get much weight, because in courtrooms the standards of evidence matter. Now, asking questions, of course, is fine, and being skeptical of official sources is fine, but when you accept unofficial random emails as being legitimate to the point that you're going to post it, share it, and propagate it without verifying or even fact-checking, and yet the official medical examiner's report, which was put out by Dr. Eric Christensen, who's been practicing medicine for over 20 years, including as a medical examiner in many high-profile cases, if you're going to question that, shouldn't you hold the same standards to a random email? If you demand extreme proof from official sources, but accept almost no proof from an anonymous email that just because it supports your side, that is not skepticism. Okay? That's called confirmation bias. And that's not how you get closer to the truth. So my question is, for anyone sharing that claim, what makes that claim legitimate? What made those claims legitimate that you're going to share it and perpetuate it? But the official Fed swap narrative by the official examiner, you can't accept. What standard are you holding? Be consistent. If you're going to question everything, why not question some random anonymous email source? So I think that if I was still following Candace Owens, and I'm not, because I'm not stupid, and I know a con person when I see one. For those that are still following, how many times do you need to be lied to realize that she's not operating in good faith? Don't you get embarrassed that she's taking you along for these rides? Has she ever apologized for the claim that you had to be Tyler Robinson had to be Spider-Man in order to get up on the roof? And then we saw from people that actually went to Utah Valley University that you do not have to be Spider-Man to get on the roof. You just have to know how to walk upstairs and walk over a guardrail. Did she ever apologize for that? What about for when just 2 weeks ago when she was on Strawn Ryan and she said Lance Twiggs was never interviewed? Now, if that was true, I'd be questioning the official investigation also. I'd be like, whoa, they didn't even interview Lance Twiggs? Isn't he like the most important witness in this case? How could that be? But it wasn't true. And we know it's not true because we saw the interviews. 2 of them. They were videotaped. Did she apologize for that? Did she say, I'm trying to get to the truth and I got something wrong? Because that's what a real truth seeker would do, right? They would say they got something wrong. Doesn't mean that you have to accept the official narrative, but you could still admit that you got something wrong. But she doesn't do that. Because anything that pokes holes in her narrative and her confirmation bias is to be ignored. So if your answer is that no, you're not going to hold the same standards to a random anonymous source claiming to be a doctor, and again, I'm going to pull up the tweets, as you are to the official medical examination report, then maybe maybe you're not actually trying to get to the truth. You're just trying to defend a narrative. So with that, I want to open up the conversation. Hey, Mackenzie, 1 second. I know Mackenzie's my biggest fan. Nice to see you. Anybody else we got here? Alita, Texas. Hi, everybody. So that's where I wanted to get started with. Let me pull up the exact tweet. Because what I'm referring to is Andrew Wilson trolling, which I think is just hilarious. I think that there needs to be more of this done by people like Andrew to make fun of Candace. So let me see where it was. No. Search at Paleo ChristCon. And I like Andrew. I mean, I don't agree with him on everything, but I don't agree with anybody 100%. But he does seem to be somebody that's interested in the truth. And at least on the Charlie Kirk case, he cares about the truth and he cares about reason and logic. And so he's on our side for that. But let me pull up the specific thing that... talking about. Okay, here it is. This is hilarious. Oh, the post is from an account that I blocked because I blocked Candy. I don't know why. I should unblock her. Both of these medical examiner profiles are mine. Coming from Andrew Wilson. Candace Owens posted this. She doesn't even check. She doesn't even ask like another doctor if it makes sense. She just posts it because it confirms her bias. That's how she works. Andrew said the Crucible has infiltrated her tip line. Awesome. Although I don't think it takes that much work to infiltrate her. I think wait. No way. Wait. She still has this up? No way. Just how magical was this bullet? Wait, okay, let me see this. I'm gonna see if I... When is it? She had to have taken it down by now. That would be too much. Israel. Did she take it? She took it down? Oh man. I wanted to say that she kept it up, but she took it down because she realized how we're laughing at her. Yeah. Oh well. What do you know? She's blaming the migrant crisis that's going on in Spain, which is 60,000 Moroccans crossed into Spain, kind of like an invasion. Blaming that on Israel because, of course, how could it not be Israel's fault, right? When Muslims invade Spain, it's got to be Israel's fault. Oh my God. Let's see what some of the quotes. Okay, Seth Dillon, Graham Allen, all these people are making fun of her, which is awesome. Good for Andrew. Good for Andrew. I really don't care about anything else. Candace and these idiot doctors have no clue as to the mechanics of a soft point bullet. Now, to be fair, I don't either. But I'm not going around and just posting shit about it. Okay? I will defer to the experts, including the medical examiner who said that this was done that it was done by a .30 caliber bullet that was consistent with the bullets that were recovered along with the rifle and then later also recovered from Tyler Robinson's apartment. Oh my God. So I want to see more trolling of Candace. I love. Here's a good one. I think I
know that there is actually a round, and I think it's like 150 grain, 155 grain round that is utilized in this weapon. And there is a particular brand of this weapon that's called the most deadly mushroom in the woods.
Most deadly mushroom in the woods.
Mm-hmm. Do you know why? Because this particular round was designed so that when it impacted on target, the round actually mushroomed. But it doesn't mushroom.
Kind of sounds like this guy knows what he's talking about. It's not just a random email that turns out to be a troll. But because this doesn't fit in with the narrative, they won't even address it. They'll publish random emails from people that claim to be doctors that turn out to be trolls because it confirms their bias. And then they won't address when you actually see an expert talking about it because it doesn't. That's not truth seeking. That's not truth seeking. Look, if I see some evidence, some good evidence that Tyler Robinson is innocent, if we see an alibi that puts him near where he actually lived at the time of the murder as opposed to around Utah Valley University, then I will change my opinion. I don't have it out for Tyler Robinson. I never met him. I don't care if it's him or somebody else. I just want to get to the truth. And right now, all of the evidence, which is a lot, yes, overwhelming amount, points to Tyler Robinson. But if he's innocent, then I don't want him to go to jail. That's the difference. Candace Owens doesn't care if he's guilty. She doesn't want him to get to jail. There's no amount of evidence that can be presented that will change her opinion. Ramza beef fan, not my favorite mushroom. Today's Gary's birthday. Oh, well, happy birthday. And everyone, I know I'm a small channel here. I just noticed that I didn't see any LLC live. I didn't see any Paramount live. I didn't see Ryan Morrow live. I didn't see Continue Freedom live or anyone. So that's why I'm like, you know what? I feel like connecting with all my friends online. I'll make my own live. But if someone else is doing a live, let me know and we'll join in the chat. I didn't see RD Troll. Let me see. Let me take a look real quick. By the way, I did a short video earlier on the Iran war situation because I do care about geopolitics. And yeah, it looks like nobody else is live, so I'm going to keep going. Happy early birthday, Mackenzie. And I should have started with a trigger warning for all the lefties out there. But where were we? And then maybe I was thinking, let's go through the text messages by Tyler Robinson again, because again, we didn't see all of them at the prelim, and they're just more damning than anything. I mean, in the whole case, the text messages are the most damning. Listen, these text messages, so Tyler Robinson admits to killing Charlie Kirk, okay? Now, the best that can be said is that these texts were sent from Tyler's phone, but were not sent by Tyler. The problem with that is, and I've kind of addressed this in my last live, there are other texts in the mix that really only Tyler Robinson could have known. For example, that he is surrendering through a family friend that's a sheriff's deputy. How could anybody framing Tyler know that Tyler was surrendering with a family friend? Tyler Robinson could have surrendered by himself. Tyler Robinson could have just not surrendered, right? Whoever is controlling his phone that would send the confessions would also have to know how Tyler Robinson was surrendering himself. I mean, it's so convoluted to set up this crazy conspiracy that it's like, why is it that hard to accept that Tyler Robinson did this? Why? What is it about Tyler Robinson that people... Is it the way he looks? Does he just look too innocent? And then you have people saying, oh, Tyler Robinson didn't do it, but it was Lance Twiggs did it. Because some of Lance Twiggs' DNA is on the towel and the screwdriver. And I've already explained that you would expect Lance Twiggs' DNA. If Tyler Robinson did this, you would still expect Lance Twiggs' DNA to be on a towel and other objects, right? So if anything, I think that hurts Tyler Robinson's defense more than if Lance Twiggs' DNA wasn't on it. But in any case, these people are saying, oh, Lance Twiggs did it and not Tyler. It's like, okay. There's no evidence that supports that, but let's just say that's true. Okay, then I would want Lance Twiggs to be the one facing the death penalty and not Tyler. But what does that do for you? How does that satisfy your quest? Oh, it was Lance Twiggs. Okay, so yeah, that's important. I certainly wouldn't want Tyler Robinson to be found guilty and punished for something Lance Twiggs did. But how does that what would make it any different if it was Lance Twiggs that was being prosecuted right now? Would that satisfy all the conspiracy concerns? It just does not make any sense. And it comes from a conspiratorial view. So it's not that if Lance Twiggs was in the seat or next to Tyler Robinson and they were both being prosecuted as co-defendants, that would actually satisfy the conspiracy. Is just that whatever we're being told, whatever the evidence is all pointing to, the Fed slop, which is not even Fed because it's Utah State, but whatever the official narrative is, we have to not accept, not even question. We cannot accept it. Thank you, Mackenzie. So let's go back to the text messages because I always have fun with them. It's like I don't know who can look at these text messages and still be like, this person's innocent. Now, again, could somebody grab Tyler's phone? You see, the thing is, the text messages were retrieved from Tyler's phone, which they seized when he surrendered himself, corroborated with Lance's phone, because that's where the text messages were going to, and then I'm not sure if they've already recovered them from, the cloud as well, from a search warrant. But if I assume that they're going to, and then it's going to be all perfectly corroborated from 3 different sources, right? So the way that the text messages are sent is they have a fingerprint, a digital fingerprint from the source. Okay, so I cannot just send a text message to somebody's phone from another source. Okay, now maybe there's technology out there that's able to do that, but the defense needs to present an argument that that's what happened. And what I was getting at is that, now, is it possible somebody takes your phone for a minute when you're not looking and sends some text messages, like maybe a Fed setting up Tyler did that? I mean, yeah, sure, that's possible. But this was text messages throughout 2 days. And they were back and forth text messages. And then again, referencing other things that are going to be corroborated, such as his location. Tyler Robinson talks about retrieving his gun and that he sees a parked patrol car around where he dropped the gun. That's going to be corroborated with his location data. Could also be corroborated with testimony by that patrol car saying, yeah, I was there at that time. So it's just unbelievable how convoluted the conspiracy has to be to get Tyler Robinson off. And which is why I've been saying from the get-go, if you want to be a conspiratard, if you really just have to blame Jews or Israel for this, be smart about it and just say Tyler Robinson was paid by Israel to do it. Or Tyler Robinson was blackmailed by Israel to do it. Because then you don't have to fight against all the evidence pointing to Tyler Robinson. You could just say the Jews were behind it. But the conspirators are too stupid. Now they've dug themselves into this hole where it's like, no, we have to get Tyler Robinson off. And personally, when it comes to Candy, I think it's her final fuck you. I think it's her final F you to Charlie and Erica. She's working overtime to get the killer off. And I can't explain it otherwise. I cannot explain it. So hi, Save Smiles, Texas Motherbird, Ramza, hi y'all, Alita, I think I already said hi to. Yeah, so I had a feeling I would get a few of you here because I didn't see any other channels going live right now, and I feel like I wanted to converse with y'all. So let's pull up the chat messages. Let's pull up, sorry, not the chat messages, the text messages. Okay, well, this is my. I think it's OBS is not letting me do it. So I'm just gonna read the text messages again. I'll keep reading them because they're so significant. Like, you don't get this level of evidence in most cases where the person is text messaging a confession that's corroborated. You just don't. Let me see if I can pull this up, if you guys can see this one. And then I'm just going to go back to X, because if this doesn't work, the X we know is working, so let's see. Yep. Okay, I'm just going to go back to X then. Let's just have fun on X. We can do that. Let's just make fun of Candace on X. So let's see. This person says, the moderate Maryland. You guys in the chat, tell me who's some good follows. I'll add them. I'm a surgeon on the internet too, and also an astronaut and elephant trainer. Remember, medical examiners don't give a shit what surgeons think. Yeah, that's another point. It's like, a medical examiner is not the same as a surgeon, which is not the same as a dentist, Candy. So if a dentist comes on and sends you an email that just confirms your stupid theories to you, you're going to be like, oh, look, a doctor said this. Yeah, well, a dentist or a surgeon might not know as much about terminal ballistics in the body as a medical examiner. And look up Dr. Eric Christensen. They keep trying to make this a nameless medical examiner that has no knowledge or something. No, his name's Dr. Eric Christensen. You can see a lot of his testimony in other cases. He's even more qualified about medical matters than even Candace Owens. I know it's hard to believe that Candace's dumbass doesn't know as much as Dr. Eric Christensen. Der lateral crawl. That's proof that it was an expert. Think about how stupid Candace is. She can't even think to herself how easy it is to do a lateral crawl. Like, that's just like common sense, you know. You could see somebody doing that and just realize that it's you don't have to be an elite soldier. but because her brain is so warped, she has to like make that into like a big deal. Oh my god, a lateral crawl. Anyways, I have fun. I can make fun of her all day. So if there's nobody else doing it live, you guys are stuck with me just making fun of Candy. So let's finish watching this one.
Like a hollow point does, where you've got these little wings that kind of deploy. It turns into a fist. So you go from 30 caliber, maybe up to 40, 45, maybe up to 50, because it expands out and it cavitates as it goes through.
Cavitates.
Yeah, it cavitates an area. It creates a channel. It actually creates a channel in whatever your target area is. And from what I'm seeing, and we'll find out what the medical examiner sees. I can hold forth on that for a little bit. Okay. But from what I saw with the initial view, it entered, and it's to the left of the midline. Okay. And when I say the midline, if you find your Adam's apple right here, okay, your larynx sits right here. It's entering right about here, which is right over where, your external jugular is, your carotids run through here.
Right.
And for that horrific moment, you see, and I'll get to this too, you see Charlie do this, you see his shirt balloon, and then you see him begin to list to the left like this, falling down. If I remember correctly, he contracts his thumb like this, and that's many times when you see this is, if you watch an NFL game.
It's a fencing mechanism.
Well,
right?
you go like this. If you see somebody with a head injury or a neurological thing, exactly. You'll see that event. And when I saw that initially, I'm thinking, this has hit his spine. It's hit his probably spinal cord. All right. And then he goes down. Charlie Kirk's shirt. All right. And people have made much of this. Okay.
Yes.
Kind of balloons out like this. It's called kinetic energy.
So when you see
Energy Candy.
when you see that, there's nothing to you that looks abnormal of any type of gunshot from this type of weapon that you've seen in your career.
Like an exploding microphone? No, it's
okay. You're out on the exploding microphone.
Okay.
Here we go.
So,
people are laughing at you, Candy.
I think I lost points off of my IQ just by saying exploding microphone.
All
anyway,
right.
so
well, let's pretend it's a high IQ point. And how you would break it down with another high IQ point.
Right. So with the kinetic energy delivery, which is part of the destructive nature of a weapon, it's not just the projectile itself, it's the energy that it delivers. So let's just pretend that we're on the shore of a beautifully placid pond. All right. Maybe there's a few ducks swimming over there. You can see the little fishies in the water. There's a frog over there. And we pick up a stone and we throw it in the middle of it. What happens? Well, you have this wave that travels out, right? That's kinetic energy. That's the delivery of the energy.
Candy would say this kinetic energy is just fake and gay. Kinetic energy is just fake and gay to Candace. She doesn't buy it. She doesn't buy it. She doesn't buy that thunder comes from lightning. She doesn't buy that there's such thing as kinetic energy. She doesn't buy that there's dinosaurs. And people follow her. Millions and millions of people follow her. And she's laughing herself all the way to the bank. Just typing this shit, saying, oh my god, my followers are more retarded than me. They're paying me money for this nonsense.
So when people say, I've shot people before and this sort of thing, and I've never seen a shirt do that. Okay. Right. How you've seen people shot before and you've never seen a shirt move. It's gonna move when you get hit. All right. He's wearing kind of a loose fitting t-shirt. So when he is hit, it balloons out like this. And when it balloons out, that's that energy transfer. If he had not had a shirt on and you were watching this in real time, you could probably see, and you were watching super slow-mo, when it strikes this area, you could see a ripple effect in the skin as well. It'll kind of kind of balloon out like that.
I hope he talks about
And then the elasticity will bring it back in. So once it has created the defect, which is the hole, it begins this cavitation, as the round is traveling through the tissue. And if it fragments, and that's called, you have what are called, there's an old term referred to, it's not old, but some rounds, 5.56 was known for this in Vietnam as a frangible bullet. So that
Wait, say that again?
Frangible bullet or projectile. Yeah. And on impact, it kind of shatters. So you don't just have one projectile, you have multiple projectiles, and all the little vessels that are.
You mean like how we found 5 bullet fragments, or how the medical examiner found 5 bullet fragments in Charlie? I mean, that's what he's talking about? Consistent? Not just some random troll that's sending stupid messages to Candy that doesn't know. This is somebody that knows what they're talking about. This is why we have experts. And we don't rely on anonymous emails that could be a troll in court. This is why Tyler Robinson's defense team is not reaching out to Candace Owens. Because nothing she brings would be admissible in court, because it's nonsense. There's no foundation. There's no expert that would say it. It's just stupidity. And Tyler Robinson has good defense lawyers. I could tell that from watching the preliminary hearing. Anyone that says that Tyler Robinson's team is in on it, they don't know how defense lawyers are supposed to work. He has good, they're probably very well paid, good defense team. I mean, way better than you can expect from a normal public defender. He's got a good team working for him. And because they're good, they're not following Candace Owens' leads. If they were doing that, then I would say they're bad defense lawyers, because they're not going to be able to present this shit in Tyler Robinson's defense. It's just stupidity. Now, if all these people that say, Tyler's defense team is in on it, Tyler could fire them if he had an alibi. And again, I know that the burden of proof in the court of law is on the prosecution. That doesn't mean that the burden of proof outside of the court of law for all of us has to be on the prosecution. We're allowed to think. But even if they've met their burden already. But that doesn't mean that the defense is not allowed to present an alibi. Usually when you get to murder cases, you really, as a defense lawyer, you could either say that, yes, the murder was committed by my client, but it was self-defense, temporary insanity or intoxication or heat of passion, that would reduce the culpability. It wouldn't get them off, but something like that. Or you would say that the prosecution hasn't met their burden of proof. But when you have all this evidence and testimony that points to your client, the best way to say that the prosecution hasn't met their burden of proof is to bring up an alibi. Why hasn't Tyler Robinson's defense team brought up an alibi? He doesn't live around the corner. He lives 3.5 hours away. And yet all the evidence points to him at UVU. So why haven't they brought any evidence that says he was close to his home? He was at work. He was there. He was here. Because they don't have that evidence. Because he was around UVU. Okay? So the next question could be, okay, so he was at UVU. You would have to answer why. You could say, who knows the reason, right? But you could say he was at UVU, and all that location data and evidence is correct. We don't have to rebut it because we're admitting it. We're stipulating to it. But he was not the one that took the shot. That would be another defense angle. But they haven't brought any alibi. And because there is no alibi. How hard would it be to show one data point at the prelim that shows that he wasn't around UVU? They could, cell phone tower records. Defense also has subpoena power. They could subpoena the cell phone tower records as well. They didn't do that because they know that the cell phone tower ping location data would further incriminate their client. Why didn't they bring a time card? This was a Wednesday. This was not a weekend. This was not a holiday. This was a normal Wednesday in September. Why wasn't he at work? This was noon. He wasn't at work that whole day. Was he at a friend's house? Why did they bring a friend to say that he was there? Because there is no alibi. So just because the burden of proof is on the prosecution doesn't mean that the defense can't bring an alibi. And they would at the preliminary hearing. Sorry, sidetracked.
Associated in that area are getting ripped and torn as this thing kind of cavitates through these structures in the neck.
138 yards.
138.
It's
Okay.
well within. Okay, so with a 30-06, there are people out there that, and this is with a scoped version of this. Okay, a scoped version of this weapon. He had optics on it.
Mm-hmm.
There are people out there that easily. I'm a horrible marksman. I barely qualified in the Army years and years ago. Yeah, I've got terrible eyesight.
Don't say that. I thought you were great.
No, I like looking at bullets. I don't like.
You look like a good shot.
Yeah, well, there you go. So there are people out there that could easily score the shot with an iron sight.
With an iron sight.
Yeah, with no scope on
Right.
it whatsoever from that distance. Yeah.
Which leads to my question here, because that makes this even more relevant to me. With a 30-06 bullet from approximately 138 yards,
Yeah.
how does that not exit?
Okay, good.
And to take it a step further above my pay grade here, just going off what some other guys who have shot a lot of weapons in my life has speculated with before, how does that not literally take his head almost clean off his neck?
No. Over the course of my career, I've examined a lot of gunshot wounds, and particularly from high velocity weapons. Okay, hunting rifles, AK platforms, AR platforms, scars. I mean, you name it. I've seen them. Everything from 308, 7.56, 5.56, Win Mag, 300 Win Mags, 300 Blackout. I mean, you name it. I've seen. And the entrance wound is not, the entrance wound itself is not going to be blown out with every single case. It just doesn't happen. I think people are expecting to see it's like the old Gallagher comedian up on stage with a watermelon. They have this expectation that you're going to take, this weapon and fire it, and the watermelon is going to explode. That doesn't happen with human tissue. So the elasticity of the tissue itself will absorb that round. Okay. Now, I think that I don't know if people are wanting to see it or they want to try to understand it because there's, you've got this kind of interesting dichotomy out there. There's certain people that I think.
I'm going to reach out to this guy or maybe some other pathologist and try to get somebody on my show to talk about this in depth. Because this seems to be the one issue that people keep latching on to. That a 30-06 ought to leave an exit wound. Now, I know, I studied biology. I actually got my bachelor's of science in biology, but I'm no scientist. But I do know enough about science that you can conduct the same experiment with the exact same gun and bullet type and ballistic gel and what have you, distance, environment. One tiny difference in the initial conditions could make a massive difference in the outcome. That's what chaos theory is. Remember Jurassic Park, that scene where Jeff Goldblum takes a water dropper, drops it on, forget her name, her hand. The drop goes down one way, and then he asks, what would happen if I drop it the exact same place? And her answer was, oh, it would go the same way. And he does, and it goes a different way. And what's the point is that there's so much chaos in the variables that you cannot predict how things are going to turn out. So yes, one time you could shoot a 30-06 from that distance, that angle, which nobody ever talks about the angle of impact. Nobody on the candy tart side. They always just show a straight shot. But you can do it, and maybe 9 times out of 10, it will leave an exit wound. But 1 time out of 10, it doesn't. Who knows why? Maybe the humidity slightly changed. Maybe the barrel of the gun slightly got dustier. Could be any number of things. That's what sensitivity to initial conditions means. And so, when you're talking about ballistics, there's so many variables that you cannot just predict with certainty how it's going to turn out every single time.
That actually want this to be, they want to see like his spine hanging out of the back of his neck for whatever reason, for whatever their interest is. But that's not the reality in the morgue. You know, when you go to the morgue and you examine bodies, this ain't Hollywood.
So going back to what you saw with Charlie, to summarize it, it is therefore, in your forensics opinion, very possible that he was shot with 30-06 from approximately 140 yards away, and that it did completely create a fatal impact upon hitting his arteries right there, but that it is possible, therefore, that it may not have made an exit wound, and that it is also, therefore, even more possible by that point that like his head would not have been effectively taken off.
And let me tell you one more thing. So with the vertebral bodies here, you know, we start up here at C1, right? C1 is called the atlas, right? So it's what supports our head, you know, like atlas. So we've got C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, C6. And so these are rather robust, you know, this surgeon or this guy, this associate of his saying, you know,
it's a mirror.
Healthy bones, you know.
Superman.
Whatever. He's a freaking human being. All right. Well, let's don't paint it in any other way. He's a human being. All right. And with this insult, this defect, there is a strong possibility that it is traversing kind of the trajectory would be from above to below. Okay. So from higher to lower, right? Possibly from left to right. Okay. All right. It could have been straight back. So above to below, from front to rear. Okay. If it is traversing like this, okay, like this, there is a high probability that it hit one of the bony structures in the spine. All right. Remember, going back to the neurological response that we talked about?
Yes.
That would account for what we're seeing here as he kind of slips off to the left side. It's within those bony structures that they have, or immediately adjacent, they've recovered this round. They're talking about numbers relative to the DNA. Numbers that have been thrown out now are octillion and quintillion. You know, that it could be anybody other than this person or persons, you know, because you got two guys that are either directly involved or peripherally involved relative to DNA. And that's, when I say involved, they've made contact with some of these items of evidence. All right. And that's one of the difficulties that defense attorneys have now, because DNA is playing such a huge role in almost every case now. If it's not involved in the case, you have people saying, well, where's the DNA? They expect that DNA will be done in every case. Well, here it's something that really plays a part, because you're telling, from a biological standpoint, you're talking about points of contact. and everything from pressing live ammo into a magazine.
Okay, I think, I don't know why it stopped.
Placing your cheek on the stock of a weapon. All right. Maybe you've cycled the weapon, or you haven't, but you've touched the bolt at some point in time. You touched the trigger. You've touched the screwdriver that's found there. You've got a towel that's got deposition of DNA from two separate people. It's a tough hill to climb for the defense. That's just the DNA.
Yeah.
All right.
Then you have the text messages, and the Discord chat messages, and the Google route data, and the surveillance footage, and the Dremel tool, and the etchings. It's just, I'm telling you, from a defense lawyer's perspective, this case, what you're hoping for is a plea deal. This is not a winnable case from the defense. Unless you get a candy tard on the jury, this is not a winnable case from the defense's point of view. You want a plea deal. From the prosecution's point of view, you might want a plea deal just for the sake of saving the state money and time, saving the victims and the witnesses the pain and suffering of going through a whole trial, and saving the very remote possibility that Tyler Robinson will be found not guilty, or there will be a mistrial. There's no way that he'll be acquitted. There's no way he would be acquitted. There's zero, unless alibi evidence that comes out and is corroborated is presented, there's no way that Tyler Robinson is going to be acquitted. The best that you can hope for is a hung jury that they'll have to retry. Even that seems very remote to me. But what is more than, I don't want to say more than likely, but what is very possible is that he's found guilty and the jury does not give him the death penalty anyways. And for that reason, and all the other reasons, the expense, the time, the pain and suffering to the victim's family and the witnesses and what have you, that's why the prosecution would agree to life without possibility of parole, I think. But, I've heard some good counter arguments that the prosecution wouldn't do that and they're going to go for the death penalty no matter what. And I could be wrong about that, but I'm still kind of sticking to my guns on that. Let's see if there's any comments I want to get to. Anybody have any questions? Who wants to be my first super chat that I've ever gotten? I'll remember for the rest of my life. Give me a 10-cent super chat. Let's see what else we can find that makes fun of Candy. Good job, Andrew. He sends a fake, or two, not just one. He sends two. He sends two fake medical examiner profiles to Candy, contradicting. Blake Neff said, laughing my ass off, no way. Two of them. And she falls for both of them. She does not even double check. And she calls herself a truth teller, a truth seeker. And and she hasn't apologized. She doesn't apologize when she gets something wrong. That's how you know she's a grifter. If I say something about this case. And it turns out that I was wrong. I apologize. I say I was wrong. Who cares? But she won't do that because it'll show that everything is kind of wrong. So she has to stick with it. Let's see what else we got on my ex. Bronson, took you 11 months to realize people are grifting. How long before the rest of the marks realize they are marks, right? Yeah, this kind of goes back to one of my recent posts. Let's see if I can find if it's that recent. Okay, well, this is a good post by me. Pat myself on the back. Because on July 10th, Candy Tard said, there are so many devastating points to the Tyler Robinson narrative, but chief among them is Lance Twiggs testifying that Tyler wasn't political. Didn't ever speak to him about LGBTQ issues or gender identity issues. And also alluding to the fact that he is not trans. He goes by Luna, but he says it's not a female identity. Likely some gamer anime stuff, in my opinion. Oh, wow. Such an interesting opinion, Candy. For months, Satanists. Oh, now Satanists. Now the FedSlop people are Satanists, right? We must be worshiping Satan if we think that Tyler Robinson committed this murder because all the evidence points to it. So we're Satanists. Have been trying to convince you that Tyler was so motivated by politics and trans ideology that he decided to murder Charlie Kirk for trans viewpoints. That Tyler held so dearly. Why are you so against that possibility, Candy? Why? Is it because you're already calling people that believe that Satanists, and so you have to hold on to this view now? He never expressed them to his boyfriend. Now, first off, that's not exactly what Lance said. Lance said that he was not political. He was not that interested in it, so it was not something that came up in their conversations much. And I tend to believe Lance about this. But the funny thing is that, according to Candace, according to this post, now Lance Twiggs' testimony is credible and to be believed. And so you know what else Lance Twiggs testified? That Tyler Robinson admitted to killing Charlie Kirk. You retard. She's saying that he's credible about this thing, which is sort of ancillary, irrelevant. But by saying that he's credible and his testimony is to be believed, she's hurting her own case. Hold on one second. I'm just going to connect my wireless mic. Then my prior post, which has no likes, made me very sad, was like 200 of the data points that points to Tyler Robinson. Oh, so this is the one that I wanted to share. For those out there who are still buying what Candace Owens is selling, I have just one message for you. I recently inherited $10 million US, of which I will send you 40% if you just wire me $50,000 to pay the taxes up front. Because if you're still buying what Candace is selling, you are dumb. You're gullible. Okay? I mean, when I was younger, and more gullible, I fell for cons. But eventually you grow up and you realize that certain people are lying to you. And the same people that can't believe that what the government is saying because they think the government lies, which they do on occasion, have no problem eating up what Candy is selling, even though we've already shown numerous times that she's lied. Let's keep going. TX Motherboard, you have 50,000 followers? Oh my god. How do you get there? No, please, man. I'll give you some likes, Texas. So Bronson. You know, I also was going to address during this live what happened with Elizabeth Lane going after Gary. I couldn't find it because that was a 5.5 hour video on Ryan Morrow's thing, and I don't have 5.5 hours. So maybe if somebody could point me to the exact few minutes where Elizabeth Lane talks about Gary, I would like to look at that because I suggested that he sue her because it sounds like it could be a real case of defamation, but I gotta see more to say that. King of X. Okay, so yeah, Candace Owens going after Allie Beth Stuckey, you know, because Allie Beth Stuckey is somebody that deserves ridicule, right? She just seems like a good American Christian girl. So naturally Candace has to go after her. See, it feels like the world, or at least the online world, is being divided not between Jews and non-Jews or pro-Israel, it seems like it's being divided between people that hate Jews and people that don't. And some of the people that hate Jews are Jews, you know, like Bernie Sanders and Glenn Greenwald. So there's overlap. And then, and a lot of the people that don't hate Jews, most of them are non-Jews. But if you're a non-Jew that doesn't hate Jews, you're almost a bigger enemy to these Jew haters than the Jews are, if that makes sense. They seem to go after the non-Jews that don't hate Jews, and really it could even be somebody who's just kind of neutral. They draw more ire from the Jew haters than the Jews draw. So that's why, as a Jew, I am so appreciative to all the non-Jews that don't hate us. And again, you don't have to support everything Israel does. In fact, I don't. I'm against American money going to Israel. I think in the past maybe I was a little bit more for it, but now I think that it should be done. So you don't have to be, like that. You could just really not care. Just be like, yeah, I don't hate Jews, and that will draw the hatred of these people. So thank you to those out there who are not Jewish but don't hate us. And I also is just looking at this, like Erica Kirk, I don't know what she has done to deserve this level of hatred. I don't get it. She's not even controversial. She just seems like a good person. And yeah, when she goes out maybe some people could think that she was acting in bad taste when she went out for that TPUSA event, and she was wearing glitter pants and there was the pyrotechnics and stuff. I personally don't think it was in bad taste, but okay, that's an opinion. But does that mean that you have to treat her with such venom? And I think that the reason she's doing stuff like that is she's trying to send a message that she's not going to let the killer win. Because if she shut down TPUSA and she just hid herself away, that would be sending a message that Tyler Robinson won. That he succeeded in what he set out to do, to shut down the organization. That was my wife telling me not to let my dog in, by the way. So I'm probably gonna have to get off this in a few minutes because I think my daughter's coming back with a friend. But what I was saying is that I think Erica Kirk was trying to put on a face.
Are you on?
Yes. Do you want me to?
Is the garage door open?
No. This is a problem with having a home office. But anyways, so arrow. Sorry, everyone. So, anyways, what I was getting at is that Erica Kirk is putting on a strong persona, public persona, to show that she's not acquiescing to those that were trying to tear down Charlie Kirk's legacy, and for that she's being defamed. And so, anyways, I gotta end this. I just wanted to share some thoughts, and I'm sure I'll see all of you in someone else's chat soon. Take care.